All right, let me ask you something. Have you ever just sat there, staring at the night sky and thought, why does all of this exist? Like, seriously? Why is there anything at all? Most of us don't spend enough time questioning this because life keeps us busy. But when you finally stop and think about it, it's mind-blowing. And here's where it gets even weirder. Science, the thing we rely on to explain everything, can't actually explain why the universe exists. But stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll see 5 crazy signs that point to something way bigger than science. Something so profound that it'll make you rethink everything. Let's start with the first sign: the universe had a beginning. Now, this might seem like old news, but trust me, it's not. For the longest time, some of the greatest thinkers, philosophers, scientists, you name it, believed the universe was eternal. They thought it had just always been there, no start, no end. But then something wild happened. We found out that the universe did have a beginning. Time, space, and even matter itself had a starting point. It's not infinite. It hasn't always been here. And here's the kicker: if the universe had a beginning, it means something caused it. Things don't just pop into existence for no reason, right? If I told you a car suddenly appeared in your driveway without anyone making it, you'd think I was nuts. So why would we think the entire universe works any differently? Here's the logic: if the universe had a starting point, there must be something outside of time and space that caused it. And we're not talking about just any something. This cause would have to be eternal, uncreated, and unimaginably powerful. Sound familiar?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
But here's where it gets even crazier. Scientists have developed these things called space-time theorems. Don't worry, I'll keep this simple. These theorems prove that if the universe contains mass, which it does, look around, you're proof of that. And if Einstein's equations of general relativity work, and they've been tested to 15 decimal places of accuracy, so they definitely work, then the universe must have had a beginning. And you know what that means? It means the idea of an eternal universe is officially dead. The universe had to come from somewhere. Now, let me ask you this: if science itself is pointing to a beginning, doesn't it make you wonder what was there before the beginning? Like, what's outside of time and space? The answer to that question is where things start to get mind-blowing. All right, if the first sign didn't already make you question everything, this next one will. Let's talk about the universe's design. And no, I'm not getting all poetic here. I'm talking hard, scientific facts. The universe is so finely tuned that it's almost impossible to believe it's just a random accident. Let me break it down. The laws of physics, the rules that govern how everything works, are perfect. Like, too perfect. Take gravity, for example. If the force of gravity were just a tiny bit stronger or weaker, we wouldn't even be here. Stars wouldn't form. Planets wouldn't exist. Life? Forget about it. And it's not just gravity. There are dozens of these constants, like the strength of the electromagnetic force, or the ratio of the masses of protons and neutrons, that have to be exactly what they are for the universe to work. Not kind of close. Exactly. Here's the crazy part: the odds of all these constants being just right by chance are so small, they're basically zero. Imagine you're playing darts, but instead of aiming at a dartboard, you have to hit a single atom on the other side of the universe. That's how precise these numbers are. And yet, here we are, in a universe that works perfectly. So what does this mean? Well, there are only 2 explanations. Either we got insanely lucky, or the universe was designed. And let's be real, luck doesn't cut it here. The level of precision we're talking about screams intelligence. It's like walking into a room and seeing a bunch of dominoes perfectly set up to fall in a beautiful pattern. You wouldn't think, wow, I guess these dominoes just randomly arranged themselves like that. No, you'd know someone set them up. And this brings us back to the big question, who or what set it up? If the universe is designed, then there must be a designer. And this designer would have to be outside of time and space, just like we talked about earlier. Sound familiar? Yeah, it sounds a lot like God. But here's where it gets personal. If the universe was designed, then you were designed too. You're not some random accident. You're here for a reason. So let me ask you, what are you doing with your life? If there's a designer behind all of this, then doesn't it make sense to figure out what your purpose is? Think about that for a second. And speaking of purpose, that brings us to the next sign, which might just be the most mind-blowing one yet. All right, let's get real for a second. Science is amazing. It's given us smartphones, sent people to the moon, and helped us understand the deepest mysteries of the universe. But there's one question science can't answer. And honestly, it's the most important question of all. Why is there something instead of nothing? Think about it. Science can tell us how things work. It can explain the laws of physics, the Big Bang, evolution, all that good stuff. But it can't tell us why anything exists in the first place. Why is there a universe? Why are there laws of physics? Why do you exist? Here's the thing, if science can't answer this question, then we have to look beyond science. And when we do, we start to see something incredible. The very fact that the universe exists points to a cause outside the universe, something that doesn't rely on time, space, or matter, something eternal, something uncreated. Sound familiar? But here's where it gets even deeper. If this cause is outside of time and space, then it's not just some random force. It's something intentional, something personal. Because let's be honest, creating an entire universe isn't exactly a mindless act. It's purposeful. It's deliberate. And here's the part that'll really blow your mind. If this cause is personal, then it means the universe wasn't just created, it was created for a reason. And that reason includes you. You're not here by accident. You're part of something much bigger than yourself. So let me ask you this, if there's a reason for your existence, are you living it? Or are you just going through the motions, letting life pass you by? Because here's the truth, if God is the best explanation for the universe, then He's also the best explanation for your life. And that means you have a purpose that's bigger than anything you can imagine. Now, I know this is a lot to take in, but here's the bottom line. The universe didn't just happen. It was created, it was designed, and you're part of that design. So what are you going to do with that truth? If this video made you think differently about the universe and about yourself, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. And remember, the truth isn't just out there, it's right here. Let's keep this going, because the truth we're unpacking here doesn't just stop with the universe or its design, it gets even more personal. We've already established that the universe had a beginning. We've seen how its intricate design screams intelligence. And we've confronted the question science can't answer, why there's something instead of nothing. But there's still more to uncover. And this next part is going to hit home in ways you might not expect. Let's talk about you for a second. Take a moment to think about everything that had to happen for you to exist. Not just your parents meeting, but the fact that this planet Earth is perfectly suited for life. The fact that the universe itself exists. The fact that life even emerged in the first place. All of it leads to this moment right now with you watching this video. Do you realize how insanely unlikely that is? Here's what's crazy. Scientists have calculated the odds of a universe that can support life, and the numbers are so ridiculous they don't even make sense. We're talking about odds like 1 in a trillion, and that's just for the universe itself. When you add in all the factors that had to align for life to exist on Earth, and for you to be born, the odds become so astronomical that it's basically impossible. And yet, here you are. Now, let me ask you something. Do you think your existence is just a cosmic accident? Because if you do, let me tell you, the math doesn't back that up. The fact that you're here, alive, conscious, capable of asking big questions about life and the universe, it's not random. It's a sign. A sign that there's a reason for all of this. A sign that there's a reason for you. And here's another thing to think about. You're not just a physical being. Sure, your body is made up of atoms and molecules, but you're so much more than that. You have thoughts, emotions, dreams, a sense of morality. Where does all of that come from? Science can explain your brain, but it can't explain your mind. It can describe your body, but it can't explain your soul. And if you've ever felt like there's more to you than just your physical self, then you already know what I'm talking about. Here's the truth: you were made for something more. You weren't just thrown into existence by chance. You were created. And if you were created, then there's a creator who knows you, who loves you, who has a plan for your life. That's not just a theory, it's a reality that changes everything. But here's the thing: a lot of people go through life without ever realizing this. They live like their existence is random, like their choices don't matter. But that's not you. If you're watching this, it means you're searching for something deeper. And that's not an accident either. Now, let's take this a step further. If you were created for a reason, then what is that reason? What's your purpose? And how do you even begin to find it? That brings us to our final sign. All right, we've talked about the universe, its design, the question of existence, and your purpose. But there's one final piece of the puzzle that ties it all together. Let's talk about morality, the idea that there's a right and a wrong, a good and a bad, because this might be the biggest sign of all. Think about this: no matter where you go in the world, people have a sense of morality. Sure, the details might differ, but everyone agrees on certain basic things. We all know it's wrong to hurt someone for no reason. We all know it's right to help someone in need. Where does that come from? Some people say morality is just an evolutionary trick, something that helps us survive as a species. But here's the problem with that: if morality is just a survival mechanism, then it's not really about right and wrong. It's just about what works. But deep down, we all know morality is more than that. When we see something truly evil like injustice, cruelty, or oppression, we don't just think, "Oh, that's inconvenient for survival." We feel it's wrong. And not just wrong in a personal opinion kind of way. Wrong in an absolute universal way. Here's the truth: if there's such a thing as universal morality, then there must be a universal moral lawgiver. Someone who defines what's right and wrong. Someone who created us with a conscience, with the ability to know good from evil. And once again, this points us back to God. But here's where it gets even deeper. If God is the source of morality, then it means He cares about how we live. It means our choices matter. It means we're accountable not just to ourselves, but to Him. And that's a game changer, because it means life isn't just about doing whatever makes us happy. It's about living in a way that reflects the purpose we were created for. So let me ask you, are you living in alignment with that purpose? Or are you just going through the motions, chasing things that don't really matter? Because here's the thing, if God is real, if He created the universe and designed you for a reason, then the most important thing you can do is figure out what that reason is. And not just figure it out, live it. Now, I know this can feel overwhelming, but the good news is you don't have to figure it out on your own. The same God who created the universe, who designed you, who gave you a sense of morality, He's not distant or silent. He's personal. He wants a relationship with you. And that relationship is the key to understanding your purpose, your value, your place in the universe. So here's my challenge to you: don't stop searching. Don't stop asking questions. Don't stop seeking the truth, because the truth is out there. And once you find it, it'll change everything. All right, so we've talked about some mind-blowing truths about the universe, its design, your existence, and morality. But here's the big question I want to leave you with: what are you going to do about it? Because knowing all this is one thing, but acting on it is what really matters. And this is where things get real. Right now, you have a choice that could completely shift your reality. Let's break this down. If everything we've talked about is true, if God is the best explanation for the universe, for your existence, for morality, for everything, then it means life isn't just random. It means you're not here by accident. It means there's a creator who knows you, who loves you, and who has a purpose for your life. And that changes everything. But here's the thing, knowing this isn't enough. You have to decide what you're going to do with it. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like there's more to life? Like deep down, you know you were made for something bigger? Maybe you've been chasing success, money, relationships, or whatever else, but none of it really satisfies you. You always end up feeling like something's missing. And that's because something is missing. You were created for a relationship with God. That's the missing piece. That's the thing you've been searching for, whether you realize it or not. But here's where it gets personal. God didn't just create the universe and leave it at that. He didn't just design you and walk away. He's actively reaching out to you, inviting you into a relationship with Him. And He's done everything to make that possible. The ultimate proof of this? It's found in one person, Jesus Christ. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for a sermon, but hear me out, because this isn't about religion. It's about reality. If God created the universe and designed you for a purpose, then it only makes sense that He would reveal Himself to us. And that's exactly what He did through Jesus. Jesus claimed to be God in human form. He performed miracles, taught profound truths, and ultimately gave His life to bridge the gap between us and God. And the craziest part? There's overwhelming historical evidence that Jesus rose from the dead. If that's true, and I believe it is, then it changes everything. Think about it: a God who created the universe, who designed you, who gave you a sense of morality, who stepped into human history to show you how much He loves you. That's not just a theory. That's a reality that demands a response. So here's the final question I want to leave you with. What's your response? Are you going to keep living like life is random? Like your choices don't matter? Or are you going to take a step toward the truth? Because here's the thing, God isn't going to force you into a relationship with Him. Love doesn't work that way. But He's offering it to you. And that offer is the greatest gift you'll ever receive. Now, you might be wondering, what does that even look like? How do I respond to something like this? It's simpler than you think. It starts with a conversation. Talk to God. Be honest. Tell Him what you're feeling. what you're thinking, what you're struggling with. Ask him to show you the truth, and if you're ready, you can take it a step further. You can invite him into your life. You can say, God, I don't have all the answers, but I believe you're real. I believe you created me for a purpose. I believe you love me, and I want to know you. Help me to live the life you created me for. That's it. It's not about saying the perfect words. It's about opening your heart and taking that first step. And here's the incredible part: when you take that step, everything changes. You start to see the world differently. You start to see yourself differently. You start to understand that you're not just a tiny speck in a massive universe, you're a masterpiece, created by the same God who set the stars in motion. But don't just take my word for it. Try it for yourself. Take a moment to pause, to reflect, to reach out to the one who made you. What do you have to lose? And more importantly, what do you have to gain?